You may be surprised to know that it really is possible to bake cookies just like those from your favorite bakeries using more healthy and delicious ingredients. Here are my favorites, each featuring a wholesome update. Farro chocolate chunk cookies, Spelt-Nut Crescents, and Granola Cookies. All today on Martha Bakes. Farro has only recently hit the shelves of supermarkets, but it has been around much longer than that. Today, Eric Steigman is joining us to highlight the intricacies of this ancient Italian grain, a grain that's being turned into pasta, into flour, into cakes. So welcome.
Thank you, nice to be here.
And now you farm over 300 acres in mid-Pennsylvania.
Yes.
And you grow what grains?
We are currently raising emmer and spelt, along with some wheat.
And all organic?
Yep, all certified organic.
Wow. And do you use machinery or horses?
Machinery.
You're not into the horse and plow.
Nope, that would take too long.
It would, wouldn't it? Well, it's very nice to have you here, and you have quite a beautiful array of grains in front of us and flowers. Why don't you take us through this display and tell us, because I don't think a lot of people realize how many of these little seeds it takes to make a pound of flour.
It does take a lot of that, especially when you're talking about making white flour, so we're refining it even further. But
right.
First you have the most ancient grain that's known to exist in man, which is the einkorn here.
That doesn't look like corn.
The ein stands for one corn, how it's actually attached to the stem itself. It's one grain individually attached to the stalk.
Okay, so corn is grain.
In German,
yeah,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That is a good all-purpose flour for making pretty much anything you want to make. You can make breads out of it, you can make pastries out of it.
And then this one?
And this is emmer. Would be the next thing that developed through a natural hybridization process of einkorn and another wild grass. Some black emmer here.
And what's this?
That's emmer in the hull as it would be combined from the field, harvested from the field. These would get broken up into individual spikelets, and that's what you're looking at here.
Oh, so this is pretty hard to break.
Yes, it requires another dehulling process to take the grain out of the hull.
I got one out.
And once we get it out, you'll see there's two kernels in each hull.
Oh, yes.
So now you see the difference between einkorn and emmer. This has two in each spikelet attached to the stalk instead of just one individual grain.
So more productive.
A little bit more productive probably than the einkorn. And this is spelt. This would be the third grain that came about through progression. You can see it's bigger, more plump kernels, two kernels in the hull. See, there's two coming out there.
Right. Is this a hybridization process?
Yeah, natural hybridization process from einkorn, emmer to spelt. Yeah, this is about 12,000 years old, 10,000 years old, and 5,000-year-old grain.
How interesting. So each of these grains is in the farro family.
That's correct.
Oh, and this looks like my cereal that I love to eat.
That's exactly right. That's puffed cereal made out of each one of these products.
Oh, so each one of those small little seeds is puffed and grows into that.
Yep, there's a special puffing machine that you put the whole grain in, and it comes out through a process. It looks like your puffed wheat cereal.
And then these are the flours?
Yep, so we have white spelt flour, whole spelt flour. The whole grain is made out of this right here, just whole grain, stone ground.
Oh, interesting. Now what's here?
This is a progression through our roller milling process, how we come to get white flour.
What are you grinding it with?
Oh, so we're grinding it with roller mills. Steel rolls that are about 9 inches in diameter and 30 inches wide in our particular mill.
And against another steel roll?
Yep, there's two steel rolls that mate together and turn inward toward each other at a speed differential.
And the grain is coming down through them?
Through the middle of them, yeah.
Oh, I see. And that's what comes out from the first?
Yep, the first pass.
And then?
That would be the second or third pass here.
So this has the bran, it has everything with it.
Yes, you can see as we're going along here, the progression. This is turning into just all bran, and you can see the product is getting darker here. So this is the feed, and we're taking off the white starch out of the grain kernel itself. This is two sides of our roller mill system. This would be like the coarse particles, and this would be the fine particles here. So it goes through the first break, and when we break the grain, it goes through the first pass, we get finer particles that come off the milling process into a reduction side of the mill.
This is a real science, the making of flour, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And they used to grind it with 2 stones and throw it up in the air and separate the wheat from the chaff and all of that stuff, right?
That's exactly right. We still do stone milling.
Oh,
It's
you
still
do?
used today.
Oh, you do?
Just a little more refined.
All I remember is reading about it and imagining how fabulous it was.
Yeah, it is.
And so what is this one?
This is the second pass of the reduction. And as you can see, we're getting darker as we go along, so we're taking the white starch out.
So how come you're getting darker?
We're taking the white starch out. Every pass
how?
it gets sifted.
Where does it go?
Up to a big sifter, a mechanical.
And it's finer than the brown.
The white is,
It
yes.
gets sifted out, and
Yep.
that's what you want to end up with.
That's what we're making our end product on the roller mill system.
And do these grains need to be stored differently than other grains?
Yes, they're stored similar to it's a cylindrical metal tank.
tank.
That has an aeration floor underneath to help dry it in
I see. For how long?
1 year at the most, but you can hold it up to 2 years.
So thank you very much, Eric, for coming all the way from Pennsylvania to show us about farro and how interesting it is that these ancient grains are so different from one another. And I can't wait to have a bowl of this puffed cereal because it looks really good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Loaded with dried fruits, nuts, and chocolate, these simple scoop and drop cookies are a must-try, and it's a must-try with farro. So many of us are interested in keeping our sweet indulgences on the wholesome side. So you can try replacing all-purpose flour with farro flour. In a bowl, whisk your flour. 3 cups of farro flour, which is becoming more readily available in health food stores and even in some specialty supermarkets. Farro grains look and taste something like a lighter brown rice. And farro flour, made from ground grain, has a complex nutty taste with undertones of oats and barley. And it is low in gluten. It's more digestible than white flour. And it can be eaten by a lot of people who are normally gluten intolerant. It's rich in fiber, in magnesium, and in vitamins A, B, C, and E. So let's make these cookies. To the 3 cups of flour, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 1/4 teaspoons of baking powder. Make sure your baking powder is fresh. 1 teaspoon of coarse salt, and whisk these together. And in the bowl of your mixer, 2 sticks of butter, 1 cup, room temperature is good, and cream that well with 2 cups of dark brown sugar. Have a rubber scraper handy so that you can scrape down your bowl. I'd give it a scrape. It smells so good at this stage. Add 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And 2 large eggs. And so add your flour bit by bit. And as an enhancement, we have raisins, walnuts, and semi-sweet chocolate to add to this. Not quite a chocolate chip cookie, but very delicious. Add your raisins, 1 cup of golden raisins, and you can chop them a little bit. Some semi-sweet chocolate bits. This is 1 1/2 cups. And 1 cup of walnuts chopped coarsely. There. That's pretty much done. Oh boy, is that a heavy batter. And a rich, delicious batter. This bowl will make approximately 40 cookies. Now preheat your oven to 325 degrees. This cookie only takes about 15 minutes to bake. So I'm just scraping down the bowl. You can mix this up Cover it tightly and put it in the refrigerator, and you can bake it off tomorrow. Some say that develops the flavor. But you can also just scoop it out, and these make beautiful cookies. I love the uniformity that is gained by using an ice cream scoop like this. Better than using 2 spoons like we did when I was a child. Even though we had ice cream scoops, why didn't we use them? Because nobody thought about it. How easy this is. My oven is preheated, and I'm going to put it in and start scooping the next. Now these cookies should be cooled on a rack as they come out of the oven. And then if you're not going to serve them right away, I would put them in a cookie jar with an airtight lid. They'll stay for about 3 days in this jar, but don't be surprised if your cookie jar is empty before you know it. They're that good. Enjoy. For a twist on classic Viennese-style crescent-shaped cookies, I am putting together a sweet, spicy flavor of spelt flour with toasted hazelnuts and almonds. These cookies are popular throughout Central Europe during the holidays. As the story goes, centuries back, the Austro-Hungarian Empire repelled an invasion from the Ottoman Turks, partly thanks to bakers in Vienna, who first raised the alarm. The bakers celebrated by creating these little crescent-shaped cookies to symbolize the Turkish flag. They have been a delicious tradition ever since. First thing we have to do is toast the hazelnuts. Hazelnuts, filberts, come looking like this with a little thin brown skin around the nut. If you put these on a sheet like this in a 375-degree oven, just keep them in there until you can smell the nuts. It crisps the skin, and when they come out of the oven, cool them, and then to get the skins off, just put your nuts in a cloth and rub like this. Oops. This is fun for kids to do. But if I'm making a mess, can you imagine what the kids would do? Oh my gosh, why am I having such a hard time? There. And you have perfect white nuts with hardly a skin left on them. And you can just kind of put them in a coarse sieve like this to rub off the rest of the skin. Look how much skin came off. So a few of these still have a little skin. Don't worry about that. You've gotten off the majority. So these go into the food processor with 3/4 cup of blanched whole almonds and a 1/2 cup of spelt flour. And you can just grind these up. So there, it's all ground up. You have your nut flour, nut spelt flour. Oh, and it smells so good. Let me tell you how nice it is. 1½ sticks of butter mixed with a 1/2 cup of confectioner's sugar. This is almost like a shortbread, the dough. It's rich, but no eggs. 1 teaspoon of vanilla. A 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and mix your nuts into 1 cup of spelt flour. So 2 ounces of nuts, whole nuts, will yield a 1/2 cup of ground nuts. Good measurement to know. So there's still some chunks of nut, but small chunks, which will give texture to your beautiful crescent cookies. And so now you can scrape down your bowl, add your nut flour, and your cookie dough is ready. My mother used to make these crescent cookies every single Christmas, And they were so popular in our house. And I don't think she used spelt flour, but they were really good. And one year, two of my brothers decided to play a trick on the family, and they made the same beautiful crescent cookies out of plaster of Paris. So when you bit into them, you were biting into plaster, basically. Same texture, same color, same look. We were not happy. That is done. What a nice, easy dough that is. So these are kind of fun to make. And using a small 1 ounce scoop, well, you can make them whatever size you want, but this is a nice size. Just scoop out little balls of the dough, and you can speed up the process by making kind of an assembly line here. Make all the balls first, and then roll the crescents. And rolling the crescents is basically a fat little roll, and then kind of form the points of the crescent, like that. Very easy, very fun. Chill the cookies for approximately half an hour before baking. They should be firm. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees. The cookies take about 16 minutes to bake. You don't want them to take on any color. And then there's one more step before you can serve these lovely almond hazelnut crescents. So now, cool the cookies completely before you roll them in sifted confectioner's sugar. And just put them on the rack. The sugar adheres nicely to the cookie. If the cookie's hot, it gets very melted and sort of gummy, and you don't want that. The excess will fall off if you keep it on the rack. But oh, these are so nice. So now you can just arrange these for serving. And any tea party or gathering will be more interesting with these beautiful crescent cookies. These cookies will stay nicely in an airtight container for up to 5 days, but why not put them out and let your friends or family enjoy them? Make these on a rainy day and the kids will love helping you shape and sugar the cookies. Enjoy. For an energy-boosting snack, try these cookies. They're packed with wholesome granola mix-ins like coconut flakes, dried cherries, pepitas, and bittersweet chocolate chunks. The brown sugar-based dough has a secret ingredient that takes the place of butter. It's dairy-free. It's actually vegan, and that's coconut oil. 1 cup of packed brown sugar. Coconut oil is also packed into the cup measure like the brown sugar. This is a half a cup of coconut oil, and it just completely takes the place of butter. Virgin coconut oil is often used as a butter substitute, and it is unrefined. It imparts a sweet, fragrant flavor to baked goods made with chocolate. Look for it sold in jars, and be sure it says virgin, extra virgin, or unrefined on the label. If you buy refined coconut oil, it'll be flavorless. So mix the 2 ingredients together. Add a teaspoon of vanilla. Add 2 large eggs. The fresher, the better. And kind of mix in your dry ingredients. 1 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. Now, when I say all-purpose flour, I mean all-purpose, unbleached white flour. A 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda to counteract that acidity in the brown sugar, and a teaspoon of salt. Who knew that brown sugar was a bit acidic? And that's because it has a lot of molasses in it. So these are your dry ingredients ready to add. I'd scrape down the bowl if I were you. A lot of it's just sticking to the sides. And we have some flaxseed, 3 tablespoons of flaxseed, which if you put in whole will be kind of hard and chewy. So it's great to grind it up a little bit in a spice grinder. Grinding brings out the flavor. And if you don't grind them, the flax seeds just go right through you. It's not absorbed at all into your digestive system. See how nice and powdery it is? This goes into our dry ingredients. Flax seeds contain heart-healthy omega-3 fatty acids and fiber. Flaxseed can replace eggs in vegan baked goods because they become gel-like when soaked. For each egg, you would like to substitute soak 1 tablespoon of ground seeds in 3 tablespoons of water for at least 10 minutes. Now add your dry ingredients on low speed. So because we added eggs to this cookie, it is not a vegan cookie, but it is a dairy-free cookie with no butter. And now we'll add the rest of the ingredients. 3/4 of a cup of coconut flakes. Use unsweetened coconut. 1/2 cup of oats. 1/2 cup of pepitas. These are the insides of the pumpkin seeds. Chocolate. 5 ounces of bittersweet chocolate, finely chopped. And 1 cup of dried cherries, which can be dried blueberries, they could be dried cranberries. There. That is our mix. What a beautiful cookie dough this is. Hard to call this a cookie dough, it's like a fruit dough. So at this point, it's good to refrigerate the dough, and that will inhibit the spreading of the cookies during baking. If you put an icy cold cookie dough ball on your baking sheet, it will spread more slowly than if you just tried to bake this one. And also all the flavors will kind of meld in the refrigerator. So refrigerate at least for 1 hour or overnight. Cover with plastic wrap. Use a small, this is like a 1.5 ounce ice cream scoop. Place the scoops right on a parchment-lined baking sheet. And using a scoop like this will ensure uniform size cookies, which is always nice because they'll take exactly the same amount of time to bake. You can make a whole tray of these, just crowd them on, freeze them, and then put them into sealed plastic bags or plastic containers, and you can just bake them off whenever you need some extra cookies. So preheat your oven to 350 degrees, bake the cookies about 13 to 14 minutes. Make sure you cool the cookies once out of the oven on racks before you try to store them. Arrange your cookies depending on how many people you have. I would say 1 cookie per person. These are big cookies. And they are rich, delicious cookies. Serve them with milk, with tea, cafe au lait. I can't think of a better snack to take on a hike through the woods or to munch when you're just looking for something not too sweet, but really almost good for you. Thanks for watching, and see you next time on Martha Bakes.
So today we're going to be making einkorn chocolate chip cookies. We've already creamed together butter, sugar, egg, and vanilla. Dump in the dry ingredients and mix that up. Fold in the chocolate chips. Set them in the refrigerator for 10 to 15 minutes. Put them on your cookie sheets. Make sure you let enough room between the cookies to allow for a little bit of spread. And voila, you have delicious chocolate chip cookies that makes a perfect snack for anyone.